Yeah, thank you very much again for being with us at this event, just regarding just building bridges, cultural bridges. We have with us, apart from my colleagues and teachers in Sweden and also in Romania. We have yes with us Professor Dr. 𝗂𝘂𝗨𝘂𝗀, the director of the Romanian Language Institute, and we have Dr. Petra Bernardini, head of section 3 at Lund University, and Professor Vasilios Sabatakakis, yes, also yes our head yes of department. And then we have yes the deputy head of mission, minister counselor, yes from the embassy of Romania in Sweden, Mr. Daniel Ristea, and we have Mr. Costin Ciobanu, the first secretary at the Romanian embassy in Sweden, and we have Dr. Bogdan Popescu, the director of the Romanian Cultural Institute in Stockholm. And I also yes greet Arina Stoinescu. I'm going to enlarge a little bit about her. And we have also yes as an a speaker to our event yes Malin Bowman, yes, from the University of Stockholm. But yes, before introducing Arina Stoinescu's project, yes, I'd like very much yes to give the floor yes to the director of Romanian Language Institute in Bucharest, Dr. 𝗂𝘂𝗨𝘂𝗀. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for making me part of this event. I am really honored to join you here and to meet you at least through the internet. First and foremost, I would like to thank for all the support given to the functioning of the Romanian language lecturer in Sweden. And my thanks go first and foremost to the university. And of course to all the help and the sustain we have from the Romanian embassy. It's an very honoring meeting today, because I cannot but recall that Romanian is taught there by a representative of the Romanian Ministry of Education, that is of the Romanian Language Institute, for the last 10 years. So I think, if I'm not wrong, please correct me, dear colleague, if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, the 1st of March was the anniversary of 10 years of Romanian language courses taught by our colleagues, I mean. It's that today's event also gives me the pleasure and the honor to meet my other colleagues functioning all over the world, and to remember that my first, let's say, connection with linguistics and with the study of language was deeply and fully marked by the studies of, I would say, one of the greatest ever linguists in history, that is Alf Lombard. So my meeting with you today is a fulfillment, not only as director of the Romanian Language Institute, but also as one of your colleagues in the study of language. It was Alf Lombard who enhanced the importance of studying the Romance languages, and as he was, as far as I know, a correspondent member of the Romanian Academy, which says a lot about our connections. And I can still remember that some of my favorite lectures during the university years were about his works and about all the correspondence he had with the great Romanian linguists at that time. So my honor and pleasure is double. Meeting you here, thanking for all that you're doing there. And it's as I said, a fulfillment and an honor as a teacher of Romanian language. I would also want to express my congratulations to all my colleagues who are teaching Romanian across the world, but especially because today he's in charge and he's the guilty person for our meeting here, to my colleagues, Felix. And it's not mere words, but it's a deep feeling of appreciation for what he's doing there with your support. And the last thing I want to mention here is the importance for us here in Romania, not only for the Romanian Language Institute, but for all the community concerned with the study of language, the importance of the Swedish Journal of Romanian Studies, which your university is hosting and sustaining, and thank you very much for that also. I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot of wonderful things from you here, more than my salute. And once again, thank you for your invitation. Thank you for your support. Thank you for our collaboration. And we are always here for anything connected with academic values that I think we share equally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝗂𝘂, for very kind words. And of course, yes, my activity here and our activity is made possible only with the strong help of Romanian Language Institute. Apart from, yes, mentioning that Dr. 𝗂𝘂 is a well-known linguist, professor at 𝒂𝒏𝒔𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈 University in Cluj. Yeah, so thank you very much for the kind words. And now I'd like to greet and give the floor to the head of our section at Lund University, to Professor Petra Bernardini, also in her turn distinguished linguist and professor of Swedish and Italian.
Thank you very much for these kind words, Felix, and thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here and to see all these people from different parts of representing different parts of the collaboration on the Romanian language and literature. I'm quite new as a head of the department, but I have followed both Felix and Lucian and also Monica Timofte at her time. And so I have also collaborated with her on the Romanian language a bit and visited the country. So I feel, we feel very close to the Romanian language and literature at Lund, and we are so happy to be the only university in the Northern Europe which offers Romanian studies, thanks to the Romanian Institute of Culture. And I want to pay some attention to Felix and Lucian's work with the Swedish Journal of Romanian Studies, which is a success and hard work for you. We are very thankful for you doing this work with the journal. And I also want to make some publicity for speaking about Alf Lombard, that we have just now finally published the book on the proceedings or selected proceedings from the conference. I think the conference took place in the 2014, and it was when Monica Timofte was at Lund, but we finally have published it. So if anybody hasn't received the book, which is called Écrit sur les langues romanes, in memory of Alf Lombard, please contact Felix or me and we will send it to you, of course. Thank you for letting me participate here, and good luck here with the project, and it will be nice to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bernardini, and thank you again for hosting at your renowned university as the chair of Romanian language, and now with 10 years tradition. Thank you. So I wanted again to thank very much, Professor Bernardini. And I'd like now to invite Professor 𝗂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 to address us a few words, because Professor 𝗂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂, a distinguished linguist and stylistician, working in Greek stylistics, was the head of our department for such a long time and helped us.
Thank you very much for inviting me here, and it's fantastic to see how many people are teaching the Romanian language in the world. I haven't prepared any speech, but I must say that I had a very good collaboration both with Professor 𝗂𝗂𝗂𝒂𝒂 and with all the teachers in Lund University. During this time, we had the Romanian lectureship, and for me, the Romanian language is very important for Lund and from Lund University too, because Lund is the only one university with the Romanian language teaching. So, and I have a good collaboration with we had good collaboration with the Romanian universities too, because I have colleagues in Bucharest, and I have been in Bucharest several times. And I can say that all the teachers, they were very good teachers. We had 3 teachers up to now, and I hope that we will continue from the next year to have that. So I must say that with Felix was a very teacher with he's innovative in different things, in both in the research and the teaching. So I don't want to talk today your time. So I just want to say that it's I hope that it will be a good meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor 𝗂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. Professor 𝗂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 also is a traveler, an accomplished and used traveler to Bucharest, to various conferences. So he's a great friend of Romania and of Romanian academia. Thank you very much, Professor 𝗂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now I'm honored to give the floor to Deputy Head of Mission, Minister Counselor, Mr. Daniel Ristea, from the Romanian Embassy in Sweden. And I had such a great collaboration with the Romanian Embassy. They have always supported our project. And in spite of being quite a distance, we speak about 500 kilometers, yes, between Stockholm and Lund. Their presence in Sweden is quite visible and impactful.
Dr. Nicolaou, thank you very much for organizing today's event and for inviting us to attend it. My ambassador is currently in Romania on holiday, so I'm representing him as chargé d'affaires and head of mission. However, despite the distance, he's with us in spirit, and he asked me and my colleague Costin, whom you know very well, to convey to you and everybody his best wishes, and to say once again thank you for organizing this seminar. The embassy has always supported the activity of the Romanian language program at one of the most prestigious universities that you can find both in Sweden and in Northern Europe. For us, it is very important that at the Lund University, you can find a center that teaches about Romania, its language, culture, and history. We consider that in this way, academics from Romania, Sweden, and other countries and universities have the possibility of establishing direct links to engage in joint projects, and why not, to publish some new works on topics related to Romania. As an embassy, we are an institution that is trying to build bridges between countries, people, and of course, universities and academics. And we are delighted that your program offers to all the people from Sweden who are interested in learning about a new country, about a new language, to learn something about Romania, which is quite far away from Sweden, but also has a long and rich historical and cultural heritage. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I can reassure you that the embassy will continue to stay and to remain a very strong, committed partner of Lund University. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Councillor Daniel Ristea. Thank you very much for your support. And I'd like to invite now to address us Mr. Costin Ciobanu, First Secretary of Romanian Embassy in Sweden, who was again very open to support and encourage this event. Thank you very much.
So first of all, greetings to all the participants. So once again, I would like to convey our thanks to Dr. Nicolaou for organizing this webinar. Secondly, I would like to once again reaffirm our support to the Romanian language lectureship at Lund University. This project was supported both by our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and by the, of course, Ministry for Education in Romania, and of course by our partners in the Swedish government and at Lund University. And as my predecessors, the speakers before me, I would like to underline that this lectureship was not created by chance at Lund University. This university has a very important tradition in the study of Romance languages in general and of Romanian in particular. And once again, as my predecessors stated, it is speaking of Romanian studies in Sweden must always include a reference and paying homage to Alf Lombard, who was a professor of Romance languages in Lund, starting with 1939 and until 1969. He dealt with mainly with what he considered to be the four major Romance languages, that is French, Italian, Spanish, and Romanian. He traveled frequently to Romania starting with 1934 and was a correspondent member of the Romanian Academy since 1947. So he worked strenuously to introduce Romanian in the Swedish academic agenda. And this tradition that was initiated by Alf Lombard was continued by his students, and who later became Romanian language professors, and then by our friends, the Romanian lecturers at Lund University. And since 2017, Mr. Felix Nicolaou has been the senior lecturer for Romanian studies at Lund University. The embassy has had a very good cooperation with him, and we would like to once again commend him for his good work done here in Sweden to promote the Romanian language, culture, history, and to strengthen some of the bridges that unite Romania and Sweden, such as academic and cultural cooperation. He has also contributed to the maintaining of the Swedish Journal of Romanian Studies. And this is one of the powerful instruments through which the Swedish public is better acquainted to Romania, to its language, and to its values. So once again, thank you, Mr. Nicolaou, and for all of your important work here in Sweden and for organizing this webinar. And with this, let me pass on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your generous remarks, Mr. First Secretary Ciobanu. And indeed, you are kind enough to mention again, after Dr. Kuibus, about to mention Alf Lombard's activity, which is very interesting because Alf Lombard passed his knowledge, transferred his knowledge to one of his last PhD doctoral students, who was 𝗂𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And 𝗂𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 actually taught me the system here at Lund University before she retired. And of course, I want to thank you also for his strong contribution, because he launched, yes, the Swedish journal to my colleague Lucian Bugiu, who is here also. So thank you very much to the Romanian embassy in Stockholm, and we are happy to have such a nice collaboration over time. Thank you again. And I'd like now to give the floor to the director of the Cultural Institute in Stockholm, Dr. Bogdan Popescu. We again have had so far a gorgeous collaboration, and Dr. Bogdan Popescu will also summarize a little bit Arina Stoenescu's activity, because they have been in contact with so many cultural opportunities together. Yes.
Hello everybody. I would like to thank in my turn Professor Felix Nicolaou on behalf of the Romanian Cultural Institute for proposing this cross-cultural topic, and of course for organizing today's meeting. The Center for Languages and Literature in Lund is a close partner of our institute in promoting Romanian language and culture in Sweden, and I was pleased to notice an increased interest for Romanian studies in the last few years, with many students visiting our institute in Stockholm for examination or just to attend our cultural programs. The Romanian language courses organized by our institute are also a useful tool for those interested in Romanian culture, with a focus on topics related to our history, architecture, literature, music, cinema, or everyday life. The students, once they complete the courses, often continue their Romanian studies at Lund University and stay connected to our programs. So I see our partnership as a natural and a solid one. Regarding the collaboration with Pioneer Press and Professor Arina Stoenescu, I would say that it has been a long and close one since the very big opening of the Institute in 2006. Arina has been very active in promoting Romanian culture, as well as in contributing to the programs of the Institute. I will briefly summarize few contributions that I find relevant, mostly from cultural diplomacy point of view. For many years, Pioneer Press has been a platform for promoting the new generation of Romanian writers to Swedish audience by publishing mostly bilingual children and young people books of very good quality and wonderfully designed and illustrated. Among the authors published by Pioneer Press, there are praised Romanian writers like Adina Rosetti, sunt Diana Popescu, Cristina Andone, Adina Popescu, Irina Maria Iliescu, or illustrators like Veronica Neacșu, Alexandru Ciobotariu, Irina Dobrescu, or the grand old lady of the Romanian illustration, Livia Rus, and many others, members of the Illustrators Club, a very active club in Romania since 2005. Many of their books have been launched at our institute in Stockholm or the book fair in Göteborg. So together with Pioneer Press, we had the honor to celebrate the presence of some of the best Romanian writers and illustrators of children books in Sweden and introduce them to Swedish readers. It's a fact that we live in a world that in which more children than young people are raised in families where they speak more than one language. Pioneer Press took up the challenge to discover and publish new titles and to promote writers who tell interesting stories about the world we live in, a multicultural world in which we are exposed to several languages at a very young age. One such cross-cultural project of Pioneer Press is called 𝗟𝘂, the Swedish-Romanian cooperation inspired by the model of Unibacken on Djurgården in Stockholm. During last summer, when we were all confined to our homes due to the pandemic, Arina was the host and moderator of a series of digital multilingual readings in English, Romanian and Swedish, followed by discussions with Romanian children's writers, translator, and reading promoters. I would mention Cristina Andone among them, Cinziana Popescu, Adina Rossetti, Norica Costache, Nini Nilan, and Brandy Anderson Bates, in a joint program organized by our institute. And I take the opportunity to remind you that the recordings of this series are still available on our YouTube account. And of course, you are welcome to watch them. During the years, the publishing house hosted a range of publications dealing not only with bilingualism and children literature, but also with Romanian topics in general, such as Romanian contemporary history, experimental typography, and pop-up interpretation of the content. The strategy of Pioneer Press had a particular significance for cultural diplomacy in both directions. Pioneer Press books have been presented also in the main Romanian book fairs like Bookfest or Bucherini, a children book fair organized by the National Library of Romania in Bucharest, or even at the European Comics Festival in Bucharest just a few years ago. They have been launched in numerous other events that promoted Swedish and Romanian cooperation in the publishing area. Swedish writers have become available to Romanian readers, and many of them visited Romania and met Romanian readers. As Romania was a guest country at the Göteborg Book Fair in 2013, Sweden was guest country at Bookfest in 2017, the biggest summer book fair in Bucharest, organized by the Romanian Publishers Association. I would mention that Arina has been involved in many other interesting projects. I would mention only two of them that I know very well, as I was directly involved myself. One of them took place in Romania, and the other one in Sweden. Arina was a jury member of the competition, The Most Beautiful Books in Romania, which was a project dedicated to book design, to the artistic dimension of the book as an object. The project was initiated as a platform for debate, on book design, both for the professionals in the publishing world and the designers, the illustrators and the public, providing a framework for appreciation and international perspective. Last year, when we celebrated 100 years since the birth of the great poet Paul Celan, Arina was a jury member of the Paul Celan Poetry Contest, aimed for high school talented students with writing skills. The contest was organized by our institute and Goethe Institute in Stockholm, and the winning poems in the contest have been published in the Ponton magazine early this year. Unfortunately, I cannot cover here all the interesting projects we had together with Pioneer Press and Arina. I'm sure that Arina will offer you a more detailed approach of the strategy and the project of her publishing house. I take this opportunity to thank for her support this year when we celebrate 15 years of existence in Sweden. And I hope we'll have the chance to run many other interesting projects in the years to come, both with Pioneer Press and of course the Center for Languages and Literature in Lund. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your extensive coverage and very useful coverage, Dr. Bogdan Popescu. Indeed, we had an exquisite cooperation. So many of my students at the Romanian studies went to Stockholm, to the Romanian Cultural Institute, to take their skriftlig written exams there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now I shall plunge directly into the introduction of Arina Stoinescu. So let me tell you all a few things about her. And I forgot to mention that some of our distinguished students are here with us who went to Stockholm for their exams. So Arina Stoinescu came to Sweden as a political refugee in 1987. She trained as a graphic designer at Konstfack in Stockholm, which means the Department of Arts, and has since worked as an illustrator and designer, including for the magazine Ordfront. In 1991, she started publishing Pioneer Press. The publisher's profile includes publishing bilingual books in Swedish and Romanian. Arina Stoinescu received attention in 2000 for the art installation Smertans Archiv, which means just a little bit of something like the archive of pain, which was made together with the Romanian director Cristi Puiu and the artist Ștefan Constantinescu. The installation highlighted testimonies given by people who had been political prisoners in Romania during the period 1945 and 1965. It was shown in Bucharest and Vilnius, and parts of the projects have been documented in an anthology. In the spring of 2016, Arina Stoinescu participated in the opening of the Children's Roma Library in Bucharest, Romania. The initiative for the library was taken by the Swedish author Gunilla Lundgren, with whom Arina Stoinescu also collaborates as a translator. At Lund University, Arina Stoinescu is researching the connection between typography and politics, with a focus on Romania during the communist era. She has also been associated with Södertörn University in Stockholm as a teacher. And in 2020, she was awarded 𝗟𝘂𝘂 which in English would mean the Fiery Soul Prize, awarded by Svenska Barnboksakademin. Yeah, so I am enchanted to give the floor to Arina Stoinescu for she may show us some very, very interesting fruit of her work.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to share screen with you And please feel free to ask any questions and just interrupt me when you need to do so. The more questions, the merrier, and I think that it's nice to have a dialogue as well. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to talk about the activity of the micro-publishing house Pioneer Press. And I know that I had a discussion with Felix regarding this term micro-publishing house, and I will get back to that. And I think that it's sound to take things down on earth a little bit, because the activity of the publishing house, it's not possible without the team and the teams that I'm working with. And indeed, it's with the purpose of creating bridges, and talking about cultural diplomacy makes me very happy. And I'm happy that both the Romanian Embassy and the Romanian Cultural Institute are agreeing upon that, because I think that culture is the best way to build bridges. The name of the publishing house is actually Pioneer Press, and it's a conscious. I'm very much aware about the name, and I wanted to keep the Romanian orthography and the writing of the word. Many times I actually had problems even in Romania, because people are calling the publishing house Pioneer, but it is Pioneer Press, and it makes some associations to the time when I personally was a pioneer in the Romanian communist organization for organizing the children. So there is some connection to the time, to my time in Romania and my experiences there. But now it's about trying to work and to promote books that has a kind of way of creating new path in especially children's literature. And yeah, you already heard about my background from Felix. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was arriving with my family in Sweden, and actually talking about Alf Lombard, I must say that before coming to Sweden, I was aware of 3 Swedish names. The first one was Nobel, Alfred Nobel, and then it was Björn Borg, and the third one was actually Alf Lombard. And Alf Lombard was mentioned by my Romanian teacher at the art high school, Nicolae Tonița in Bucharest. And I really remember, I have a very clear picture of my Romanian teacher being very proud about what Alf Lombard said about the Romanian language. So those were that was my knowledge about the Swedish culture before arriving to Sweden. And I started the publishing house already during my studies, and I'm trained as a graphic designer, which means that I can take over the last phase of the creative work of doing books. And by having this opportunity and this possibility of designing books, give me an opportunity to realize the projects. And I wanted to start the micro-publishing house as a platform for working with different projects. And back in Romania, I was growing up by my own, being alone with the books, and the interest started already there, and there was a large publishing house in Romania called 𝒂𝒃𝒐𝒌�, which was publishing a lot of children's and young books, books for young readers. So that was the idea. In 1991, the technology was not in place. It's hard to imagine the world without cell phones and internet. So the production of books was much more difficult by that time. And this is also one of the reasons why the first book was published in 2000, The Archive of Pain. And as Felix already mentioned, it was a book, an art book, an artist book made by, together with Ștefan Constantinescu and the film director Cristi Puiu, who was doing the filming of the former political prisoners in Romania. And that book was also bilingual, and we were very happy to collaborate with two very important historians, with Lucian Boia and Adrian Cioroianu, and the art historian Tom Sandquist. So it was the first book that was dealing with the Romanian topic, and it was bilingual. However, my interest is very much in children's culture, and this is because I think that, and I see that from my own experience, both by traveling to Romania and raising a child here in Sweden, that the best way to change a society is to go to the young people, to go to the children, to go to the young adults, and try to help them to construct a better society. And when going to children, you can have the another audience. You have their parents and the adults being around them. So I think that working with children and children's literature, it's the best way of doing that. And even more doing that by using the bilingualism. And this is very interesting because I do remember when I was in Romania, there were programs for the minorities in Romania. There were programs for Hungarian speakers and for German speakers, and even other smaller communities. And I kind of always been a little bit I envy my colleagues being bilingual, because they could go away in their own world. So, and nowadays, as you already mentioned, many children are raised in multilingual context. So that's a very good way of publishing books. And because publishing bilingual books gives the opportunity to see both your own culture and mirroring in another culture. So that was the reason why I started with a bilingual book. It's an artist book. It's not for children, but then I understood that publishing bilingual children books will be more interesting from my perspective and my point of view. So since 91, or actually since 2000, after the first title was published by Pioneer Press, I published 41 titles in 10 different languages, and there are those languages are actually dictated or introduced thanks to the stories and the writers and the people I met and the people I work with. So the team of Pioneer Press is very big, and I really, I'm very, very thankful for all the people that have contributed to the building of bridges or publishing bridges, as I like to say. So English, French, German, Hungarian, Korean, Kurdish, Romani, Romanian, Russian, and Swedish are some of the languages, and I would really like to continue to bring new stories and new languages kind of meeting each other. Why do I still call it a micro-publishing house, in spite that the house has already published 41 titles? I don't want to become a big publishing house. I do like to work with small projects, kind of a pioneering work, and this gives me and the people collaborating with the Pioneer House the opportunity to have the freedom of testing things and expressing new ideas and thoughts. And here I will introduce some, actually 2 projects and the future project. This is a book that I'm very happy that I was able to publish at Pioneer Press, since no other publishing houses in Romania were interested in its Experimentul Martinel by Sânziana Popescu, illustrated by Andra Badea, and translated to English by Grațiela Georgescu. And this is a book dealing with the topic of children left alone at home, strawberry children called in Romania, or căpșunari. And this is a phenomena that started, it's also encountered in the Republic of Moldova, where people, parents need to leave their children with relatives, with grandparents, or with neighbors, or even alone, in order to travel to other countries to make a living and earn money. And the problem this is causing to a society, and we still don't know what this exactly it's going to, how the impact it will be in the future, because we still have young people and mental health of those people. But this is a very nice story written from a Romanian perspective, and with also because it's a children book, it's important to show the children not only the harshness of life, but also the constructive way of thinking in order to solve problems. So that was Experimentul Martinel, and it was published in 2018. there is another book that I want to mention in this context, and it's called 𝒟𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈, which is the Swedish name of strawberry children. And this is written and illustrated by Sara Olausson. She's also a collaborator of Pioneer Press. And we went together to Romania, and she was very interested in the situation of the Roma people, and she tried to understand the reason why people from Romania are coming to Sweden in order to beg. So she wanted, with this 𝒟𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈 book, she wanted to also give her perspective on this issue of children being left alone at home, without pointing the finger, just showing the situation, and also trying to explain for the Swedish children the reason why we have this phenomena. And I think that this is important. I know I wanted to mention this book because I know that this caused a lot of debate in the Romanian community here in Sweden. Many times probably without people reading the book, because the book is only published in Swedish. And it's interesting that a book can come with this debate and engagement without being read. And also knowing that I published a book about a same subject that almost passed unnoticed in the Romanian context, whether that book being written in Romanian. So this is how I see the opportunity of working with books and bilingual books. And this is also one of the reasons why I do like to work with bilingual books, having the opportunity to give two perspectives. And of course, it's easier to do that with the picture books, not having so much text. Another project that this is actually the latest title published by Pioneer Press, is the one which also shows the development and what's happening in the Romanian children's literature, and how good ideas travel over borders, and people work in similar ways without maybe knowing of each other's projects. And this is a book written by Adina Rossetti and illustrated by Irina Dobrescu. And Adina Rossetti worked together with children from an area in Bucharest called Ferencváros, which actually the Swedish Evening Standard Expressen had a long series, quite dark one, about drugs dealing and a lot of problems, social problems there. But Adina went to this area together with the illustrator Irina Dobrescu, and they worked together with the children, they interviewed them, and they wanted to create a book about the place, and making the children to recognize themselves, to see characters in this book resembling their own life and also their own skin color. And this book was actually published. It's published in Romanian, so Pioneer Press has the rights for the Swedish and the Romani language. and we wanted to translate it to Romani. It's a Romanian Roma native speaker who translated that, and I was very happy to hear that the Swedish reading ambassador, who is also a Roma activist, he was very happy and was able to read the translation. So this is a good way of showing how we can build bridges between cultures. And also the founder actually of the Children's Roma Library, Gunilla Lundgren, who was mentioned by Bogdan, she was also happy to see this book, also because she's been writing books with Roma children since many years ago. Now I going towards the end of my talk, and wanted only to mention the forthcoming title, which is planned for hopefully this year. And where also Malin Boman, who is a trainee at Pioneer Press, is working with. And this is a book. The previous books were written and illustrated by two Romanian authors and illustrators. But this book has a Swedish writer and Romanian illustrator. And I've been working before with Oana Achitze, and I actually met her at one of the competitions, the most beautiful books in Romania. She was one of the persons being rewarded a prize. And I wanted to combine those worlds and having the Romanian visuals illustrating a Swedish story, which actually is not Swedish per se. It's actually set in Israel, since the writer has a Jewish background. And this is also the reasons why the story is very nice. It's called Eggshell, and you can imagine what it's behind the eggshell or the skin, or whatever you want to call it. There are kind of similarities and lots of things uniting us, but also differences. So this book, it's going to be bilingual, Swedish and Romanian. And of course, I do work with Swedish and Romanian because are two languages that I'm feeling comfortable with. But the idea is to translate the story both to Yiddish, which is one of the five national languages recognized in Sweden, and also Romanian Hebrew, because there is a large community of Romanians in Israel speaking both Romanian and Hebrew. So I'm really looking forward to see this book and to have the opportunity to launch it and see even other projects taking off and trying to construct a better world for us all, but starting with the children. So thank you for listening to me. Now I would like to invite Malin Boman to take over and talk a little bit about how it is being student in publishing studies and an intern at Pioneer Press. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your stirring presentation and quite captivating presentation, Arina.
Right, yes, so I will take over for a bit then. Very nice to meet you all, see you all, or the few of you that I can see at the moment on my screen. I will give you a quick background, just who I am, and then move forward with my contribution to our discussion. So my name is Malin. I live in Sweden, born and raised in Stockholm. I have 2 bachelor's degrees from Umeå University, which is situated in the north of the country. They are one in English and the other in French. I started the publishing studies course at Stockholm University last year. It's a 1-year course, and I'm just now finishing with the internship that I'm doing with Arina at Pioneer Press. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm going to give you, like Arina said, a student's perspective on publishing studies and interning. Before I started publishing studies at Stockholm University, I had what I now realize was a very outdated idea of what it meant to work in publishing. My main area of interest was editorial work, so I saw before me the life of the editors that lived in the 50s. I thought that, you know, I would sit alone in my office with my manuscripts, I would do textual work, and I wouldn't interact so much with other publishing departments. Needless to say, publishing studies killed that illusion pretty quickly. Since I started the course, you could say that it's not an understatement to say that there's been a massive shift in my understanding of what the publishing industry actually looks like today. In one of our modules during the course, we explored how different trends, both national and global, influence what happens at a publishing house. So, for example, the new technologies across, well, all sectors and industries in the world led to an audiobook boom in Sweden in 2017. So the international landscape is, as we know, changing. And obviously the publishing industry, like any other industry, has to adapt to that in order to, well, meet new demands from new types of readers. And it was this new reality, well, I say new, it's the only one I've ever lived through, but still, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to intern at Pioneer Press. Not because it's a big audiobook publisher, but because it answers to another trend, globalization. So one thing that we touched upon during the course was how essential it is with collaboration. And mostly we talked about, like, from an in-house perspective, how the editorial branch would have to collaborate with production and marketing in order to bring a book project to its completion. But of course, collaboration also goes hand in hand with globalization. And it is a prerequisite for Pioneer Press with its bilingual profile to work as a business. Because like Arina said, without the interest and passion of Pioneer Press's authors and illustrators and translators, and all of you guys here today from all over the world, not many books would be published at Pioneer Press. And it is this interest from so many different people that makes the publishing industry, I think, such an important platform when it comes to building bridges between different cultures. Because I think we can all agree that every culture has stories that are worth telling, and bilingual publishing is a way to introduce these stories to a larger audience. So, like Arina, I do believe that bilingual children's books will continue to grow in popularity, if for no other reason than because our borders aren't the same as they were 70 years ago or even 20 years ago. And during my internship, I have been fortunate to see many different sides of the publishing industry, and not only those that concern editorial work. I have also been fortunate to have a very supportive supervisor who wants me to be aware of everything that goes on at a small publishing house and what the modern day reality actually looks like. So far, my experience is that managing a small publishing house, I would say it's a lot like being what in Swedish is called an 𝒟𝘂𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, which means someone who does it all. During my 4 weeks, I'm doing my 5th now, I have tried my hand at everything from drafting contracts to our many colleagues and updating our website to putting manuscripts and illustrations into the industry's design program, InDesign. I've worked with manuscripts in Romanian, Swedish, English, French, Norwegian, and German, and there is one in Icelandic coming up. So there's been a lot to get used to, a lot of different tasks to do, and like the rest of the world, it all moves really, really fast, at least for someone who is not used to the majority of the tasks she's been set to complete. Now, the thing about me is I am not a good juggler. Multitasking is the bane of my existence, or at least it's the bane of my sanity. So, and that's a bit problematic since you find it at every workplace nowadays. So I introduced what I like to call theme days, which is where I work with one kind of task every day instead of trying to work on several different tasks. Because regardless of what book project I've been working on with Arina, all of them have required editorial work, graphic design work, and administrative work. So I made those my 3 themes, and I now structure my work days based on them. And this has been a way for me as someone who is new to the practical side of publishing and still relatively new to the theoretical side, to navigate through this industry of multitasking, where you never only work with one manuscript at a time, but several, which is another myth, another illusion that I had before starting publishing studies. Since the next item on our agenda for this afternoon is educational approaches, and that is one of the reasons I'm here from a Swedish perspective, I thought I would kick that section off by sharing a, I don't feel like I'm old enough to say I have anecdotes, but so let's say a conversation that I had with an American friend of mine. We spoke about recently what is required in order to be expelled from university. And in the US, there is a minimum number of credits that you need to take each semester in order to keep being registered in your program. And it got me wondering, can you even get expelled from a Swedish university? I mean, I'm sure you can if you put your mind to it, but the idea that you attend university for the sole purpose of obtaining a degree is, I mean, I would say from my experience, is not very Swedish. Now, I have 2 bachelor's degrees, but neither one of them was obtained from doing a program. But I pieced them together myself while I explored the university world and what I found interesting. I don't know what works. I think that what works best, it is what works best for you specifically. And I can only say that this worked out pretty okay for me. But it came to show that there are fundamental differences in the educational systems in Sweden and in the US, and I'm sure there are also differences and similarities between Sweden and Romania. So if someone wants to say something about that, or if Felix wants to do some moderating, the floor is all yours.
First of all, I want to thank you very much, Malin, for this quite astonishing presentation and the work you're doing at the publishing house. I'm sure Arina is happy to have a stud supporter and such a proficient disciple, yes, like you. So indeed, so thank you very much. Very, very interesting. Maybe indeed we could draw a few lines regarding the academic, the university system or systems in the two countries, but not only. As for me, I could trigger the debate, let's say, by saying that my mandate here at Lund illuminated and enlightened me in many respects. I came here already with a flexible view on the university. So on one hand, I was very, very happy to see that students could cope with my flexibility. It was again very challenging to be in full contact over the learning, mobile learning with my students. So this means that, yes, together with the change of platforms, yes, because I have passed through a few of them, it was very interesting to be in incessant contact with my students over Skype, over Zoom, over Canvas, and this is a phone application as well, over email, over Facebook too. So in this way, yes, the learning was constant and uninterrupted. And I think it was very, very beneficial to all of us. So when this pandemic arrived, actually, we at the Romanian Studies weren't that taken aback because we were already working like, of course, this is a joke here, like in pandemic conditions. I mean, and playing with words here, Romanian Studies was a pioneer to parallel, yes, the name of Arina's publishing house, was a pioneer in e-learning and in mobile learning. Yeah, so Romanian Studies flagged, yes, this system, and afterwards, with the occasion of this unfelicitous occasion, actually, all my colleagues here at Lund University were a little bit pushed from behind to catch up with the Romanian Studies in this respect. I mean flexibility. I mean working, yes, in let's say in tandem with students' program, and I think that it may take a little bit more time from professors' time, but otherwise the results are quite happy, felicitous, stimulating, because students have the possibility to come up with their feedback whenever they want. And it was gorgeous that my Swedish colleagues encouraged my approach. So what's very interesting in this respect, in the Swedish system, professors have the possibility to take care of their academic careers at the same time. I mean, going to conferences and symposia and so on, while at the same time, yes, keeping contact with their students and being able to offer them feedback. So maybe yes, the Romanian university system is a little bit stricter, let's say, or it used to be before the pandemic. Because generally, yes, in Romania, universities require a certain percentage of attendance, physical attendance, but that used to be. And again, the pandemic, I do not want to praise pandemic, but pandemic on the one hand accelerated and updated the Romanian university system. And I think that in future, the two systems will go somehow in tandem. It is quite possible. Okay, so I do not want to monopolize the discussion. We have here so many years distinguished and great professionals with us. So maybe, yes, we managed to have an exchange of ideas. Yeah, so I kindly invite you to come up with questions and suggestions and yeah, whatever you may feel like. So before, yes, just to warm up, yes, the atmosphere a little bit. So for instance, from what I can recognize here, I have my colleagues with their experience in across the whole world. I have, yes, for instance, 𝗟𝘂 here, who who is a playwright, yes, and works at the theater in Malmö. We have Bogdan Hribudas, who is also, yes, an editor at the well-established Tritonic, yes, press in Romania, but not only Romania. They have a branch also in UK. So we have, for instance, Tommy Strand with us. Tommy was a brilliant student of mine. His performance with a critical performance, literary critique performance, was broadcast, a little bit of it, at Romanian cultural radio. Yeah, so he was great in assimilating, let's say, Romanian culture at an unbelievable speed. Yeah. Okay. So please, yes, come up with questions, yes, regarding what, yes, we heard and we've seen so far.
Maybe I could ask a question. Thank you very much for these presentations. It's been really, really nice to hear both from all of you. Malin, you said that the bilingual books for children, that's the future. Is that the trend in other countries as well, or why? I mean, if you compare to audiobooks, how do you see this trend coming?
I see it in the way that, like, the world overall is becoming more and more global. That if we meet each other and different cultures meet, like in the real world, so to speak, like in person, it makes sense that there would also be this meeting taking place, well, in other mediums, such as in books. And in Sweden especially, there are so many people here that don't have Swedish as a first language, or that speak more than one language at home. So it feels more like it's it would be a natural consequence, I feel, of a more just globalized society, and that I'm not only a Swedish person, I'm also, you know, a European, and I'm a Scandinavian person, I'm a speaker of English and French, and it's not just me, you know. I feel like everyone is just becoming more global, basically.
Yeah, would Irina, would that be, do you share this, or do you feel alone as a bilingual publisher in Sweden?
That's a very good question. There are starting, I think that I was the first one in Sweden. There is a very big bilingual publishing house in Britain, and they are publishing English and combination with other languages. And I must say that there you have the technology aspect in publishing books, because publishing bilingual books has been done, especially poetry. It's easier also as a format and content, but nowadays with the arrival of desktop publishing, it is much easier to do so. And that was one of the triggers for my publishing activity since I'm doing the graphic design by myself for the books published here. So I think that it's going to come much more with the globalization, with the European Union. I mean, that's everyday life in the European Commission with all this and all the translations. And there is interesting discussion among translators actually regarding the technology. Google is working very well with translating algorithms, and some of the translators are feeling afraid being maybe not needed, but I do not share that kind of feeling, because I think that we are, in spite of technology and technical possibilities, we still need, we have our personal context and personal experiences, and this is not something that an algorithm can pick up that, but it's not going to develop it in the same way. So I think that the uniqueness that you have in a language and in cultural experiences, it's something that needs people to trade off between each other. So I think that it's coming. I think that there are maybe many others getting interested in this kind of bilingual publishing, and it would be interesting to see how this is developing.
Yeah, thank you. Because I'm thinking about the consequences for translation when you actually have the two texts next to each other, and where some people can read Romanian and Swedish, and that you're maybe a little bit more vulnerable as a translator, that somebody can actually check right then how your translation is.
And this is, I think that this is the good point of that. I do not speak Romani, but Romani, the 𝗟𝘂 dialect, has about 30% of the vocabulary from directly loan words from Romanian. So I'm very happy when I kind of discovering, oh, that's this word, and this is, so it kind of make me feel that we share so much, and this is something that people living on the borders are quite aware of. I mean, people living in Malmö are much more aware of the Danish culture, and Gothenburg and Oslo, and the Romanian country with all the belonging of three big empires during the history. So when at the end of the day we somehow realize that we are much more sharing things and making us sharing experiences and culture, I think that helps the understanding of each other.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, Elizabeth, and thank you for your answer. I have to add here that one of the books produced by Pioneer Press, 𝗟𝘂𝗻, I shall translate it ad hoc now in English, 𝗟𝘂𝗻 and UNESCO in the musical forest. This is a book published by Pioneer Press, putting together, assembling two famous composers, one Swedish, the other one Romanian. This is a book for children, but the text is full of suggestions, full of information. There is quite capturing and surprising way of describing musical notes there. So it was very, very useful, yes, to improve my Swedish. So I could say that Arina's books, Arina, yeah, when I say Arina's, yes, it is about the books published at her press, are useful, yes, and pleasant, not only to kids, but also to, let's say, immigrants, invandrare, yes, Romanians in Sweden. And they make good, tremendous job also in Romania, because I have so many acquaintances asking me about books, bilingual books, yes, Swedish, Romanian, and vice versa. So I think, yes, this bilingualism, let's say, in translation, can be forceful in the future. Yeah. So please, if you may have other questions. Yeah, so we have with us also, for instance, Kristina Sarakuts, who is also a teacher, a professor at 𝗃𝒂𝒏 University, and she taught in Finland, for instance, and she is also involved in children's books and translating, yes, this kind of content. Am I right, Kristina?
Well, I was just thinking about not about Finland today, even if I taught there 3 years. But I just have a little question for Arina. How about classics? Because all your projects are focused on contemporary Romanian literature. How about classics in your projects? For instance, one of your projects is called Ion Creangă House. How about translating Creangă to contemporary audience?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. And actually, I do have a translation of Punguța cu doi bani, the 2 pence bag, from by Ion Creangă. I must say that I would like to work with Ion Creangă, but also kind of trying to first adapt the language to the today, because the stories are marvelous, but as in Britain wanted to preserve Shakespeare's language, in Romania, as I understood, there is this respect for the archaic Romanian that Creangă is written in. And I would actually like to put it in a modern perspective, and I am thinking of working with a Swedish illustrator, and I have actually a particular one in mind that I think that she would suit very well Ion Creangă's stories for the Swedish audience. Her name is Gunnar Gräs, so I would like to ask her. Yes, I would love to work with the classics as well, but I didn't wanted to start with that because working with the project 𝗃𝗃, it's about including all the children's literature, and the Romanian children's literature developed very much in the last, let's say, 10 years or so, 10-15 years, and I was following the children's literary scene for a very long time. Actually, since 20 years ago, it's easy to remember because that's the age of my daughter. So I started to read for her Romanian books, but I was giving up because the quality and the difference between the Romanian books and book design and the Swedish one was too big. So she was very hard to persuade. But this is something that it's planning. So yeah. More to come, and 𝗂𝒂𝒅𝒔, I do love 𝗂𝒂𝒅𝒔 very much, and for me 𝗂𝒂𝒅𝒔 is a little bit similar. His stories from childhood reminds me a little bit of Astrid Lindgren's Emil i Lönneberga, and his world and his life. So yeah, it would be a very interesting project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And also, Mr. Ciobanu from the Romanian embassy, yes, wrote a question here on our chat. Yeah, asking you, Arina, yes, how many bilingual books you have published so far at your press? I know there are plenty.
Yes, actually, bilingual books are 39. So because I only have around 35 or something like that, because some of the books I have one book publishing poetry, and it's an experimental typography that's only in Swedish. It's a Kurdish poet, Dana Maruf. And then I have Livia Rus' book, 𝒂𝒃𝒐𝒌𝒔 intervine, which is a satire of Ceausescu regime that she published in Hungarian, and I translated to Romanian. That's also only in Romania. And then there is a comic book translated from Swedish to Romanian, an anthology about Swedish female cartoonist drawing about menstruation. So that's also only in Romania. So it might be around 35, between 35 and 38 books. All are bilingual.
Out of, if I'm not wrong, out of 47.
41.
41. Yes, so yeah, the percent is smashing actually. So bilingualism. Yeah,
yeah,
great.
That's the profile, and this is what I enjoy doing.
Splendid, just splendid, just splendid. Thank you very much. And I see now a raised hand from my student, yeah, Blanca, yeah, Blanca Denes, yeah, please.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, Felix, for organizing. And I work as a mother tongue teacher in Uppsala, and I teach both Romanian and Hungarian. And I must say that Arina's work is highly appreciated, because the children find themselves recognized in bilingual books, and bilingual books that can be presented in school projects. So hopefully in the future we will have so many that it will be something ordinary to have bilingual books in schools and libraries all the time. And about the classics, I don't know if you know, there was a publishing house in Bromma that has published sometime in the 70s translations of Sadovianu and Gurlianu, and they are translated with in a simplified Swedish. And these are very, very old books, but and these are the only ones that we have to use with preschool children. And it's very good because being multilingual is something normal now, and children have numerous projects where they have to present something, and it's much easier for the teachers and the staff to work with books that they can actually read, and not just stand there and show that this is a Kurdish book or a Hungarian or Romanian book, and so on. So I think that it is amazing, and looking forward to many more books bilingual or trilingual, or I don't know. Oh, and 𝒃𝒐𝒏𝒕 we have used in school when the children here have a very difficult time understanding the communist regime, but it belongs to the culture of their parents, grandparents, and 𝒃𝒐𝒏𝒕 was great help.
I'm very happy to hear that, because just short, the history is it's a paraphrase of how do you say Askungen 𝗟𝘂𝗀𝒧𝒧 in English?
Cinderella.
Thanks, Malin. Thanks. So that's a paraphrase of Cinderella, but the story is set in old communist Romania, where the king is 𝒂𝒃𝒔 himself, and the prince was his son. And she published the book in '87 after leaving Romania, and she published it in Hungarian, and the book passed unnoticed. No one knew about that. And she really wanted, unfortunately she passed away a couple of years, but I'm very happy that I met her, and she visited Stockholm, she visited Unibacken, and she was always very supporting and encouraging in the project regarding children books. So I'm really very happy to hear that it works so fine, because that was her intention as well.
And it's great help. It is challenging to explain something so complex from their culture. So it is extraordinary help. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ciobanu from the Romanian Embassy has a question. Yes, and a suggestion too. I saw it. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the floor. I could not see what I could raise my hand from, virtually raise my hand from here in the screen. So that's why I typed. Maybe a suggestion for Arina. You were speaking about publishing the classics from Romanian children literature, and you are speaking about the topic of, let's say, keeping the style of the archaic Romanian that is maybe found in 𝒃𝒏 and so on and so forth. I do recall that, for example, during the time when I was in high school, there was a national contest for students who were translating from Romanian for translating literature from Romanian to other to foreign languages. It was called the Marin Sorescu competition, national competition, and I do recall that when we translated poetry from Romanian to English, we used archaic English, yeah, to keep the style, yeah, of the archaic Romanian. So maybe there's, I don't know, archaic, you know, you, thou, and so on and so forth, yeah. Maybe there's an archaic Swedish that you might, I'm not a Swedish speaker myself, unfortunately. So maybe this suggestion, maybe you could use archaic words from Swedish to keep the style and the scent of the archaic Romanian language, yeah? So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Thank you.
Yes, obviously, yeah, this is a must. Yes, we may domesticate or to foreignize, yes, translations, but indeed, yes, indeed, it would be spectacular. Anyway, very good suggestion. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So other questions, if you may have. I have yes, also, yeah, my colleagues here, 𝗂𝗂𝗍𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈 and my colleague 𝗟𝘂𝗍𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈, yes, from Prague University as well. If you may have questions.
So, yeah, I can say some words. I want to say some words. First of all, I congratulate you and all your guests for this wonderful event. And I salute all the work that your guest Arina Stoenescu is doing. And I'm very happy that this kind of projects are going on here in Sweden. And I come back to my my colleague's question, and actually that was my question too, 𝗟𝘂𝗱𝗀𝒃𝒂𝗏𝗏 question. Do you use this kind of bilingual books in your teaching the language in Lund? Can you use them as materials for studying and to easy somehow your teaching? Why I'm asking this, because I used this kind of books, but actually I created such kind of books with my students. And I use translation as a mean of acquiring the language. So I translated from Azerbaijani to Romanian 3 fairy tales. And this was the way my students actually learned better Romanian, translating from Azerbaijani into Romanian. And in the end, we created a booklet. It's just a small book, but we had a designer, an ex-student of mine from fine arts, and she created some great designs for the book, and it's going to be published in June if everything is okay. So yes, we did this, but as a mean to learn more Romanian, if I may say like this. And I come to the question, do you use these bilingual books that Arina Stoenescu published in her publishing house to teach your students, or are they helpful in teaching students in Sweden?
Oh, sorry. Very good question indeed. I saw Niku's question here as well.
Yeah, actually, I just want to say hello and just to congratulate you for this amazing exhibit of publishing event in Sweden. And I was just laughing when my computer went off, and when I plugged it in again, I just saw that Josefina was asking the same question that I had already written in the chat. So it means that we are on the same wavelength. And yeah, that was my question to Felix for you. If you took into account using some of these books, of course, for the learners of Romanian language that are advanced, maybe level B2 plus or even C1, if you have already used it, what are the outcomes?
Yeah, very good and challenging questions. Yes, indeed. I recommended especially 2 books regarding Arina's activity. The first one was that one I already mentioned, that parallel between the 2 composers, the Swedish one and the Romanian one. And then there is another book which especially helped me. And this is, if I'm not wrong, Arina, Mașinuța Curcubeu, Regnbågen Bilen. So what's very interesting here, the range of using this book is quite generous, because they may be offered to students not only, let's say, to proficient level. We may work with them even at just the frame of reference, let's say, around B1 or let's say A2 as well. But indeed, speaking about the flexibility of the Swedish system, there are different approaches. What would be very interesting, because Arina publishes not only in this field, in this Swedish-Romanian bilingualism. For instance, she has a great book about learning German through Swedish and vice versa, if I'm right, Arina. So I could spot it on the site of the publishing house.
That one, it's a PhD dissertation which is interesting. It's making parallels between idiomatic expression,
translation,
German and Romania. And I would love, we have together with 𝗂𝘂 we have an idea to do a children's book about idiomatic expressions, Romanian and Swedish. So this is a future project, and it comes from that PhD dissertation in linguistics. She defended that in Bucharest, actually.
Yes, yeah. So this is a seducing idea. As I have already told, I recommended 2 of your books to my students, but now I'm a little bit out of stock. Yeah, Elizabeth asks us. Yeah, so you should renew, yes, them. But what would be also, because now this is very, very suggestive of the future regarding Romanian studies. Maybe some of your already published books could be also, let's say, improved with some glossary or with some footnotes regarding, I don't know. This would imply creating some didactic, or a didactic line of books, and they would be absolutely useful in this respect. To have, because the texts offered, suggested by Arina's books, Arina's published books, are not very, very transparent, let's say, or very, very simple. Yes, there are texts with a degree of poeticity in them. So sometimes, the translation is not literal. Umberto Eco has a diatribe against this instrumentalism. I mean, translating word for word, we know very well, yes, there's a whole tradition. But these texts being quite complex, maybe, Arina, you may think in the future about, contributing a small glossary, or as I told you, some footnotes, explaining some idioms or explaining some metaphoric renderings there.
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion. Actually, I would love to collaborate with your students, maybe. So if you can initiate a project where the students can work with this kind of glossaries and idiomatic expressions, we can actually publish it as a print-on-demand separate add to the book. Why not?
Precisely. Yes, this is exactly what Coralia Didval's books that are offered to students. Yes, they are printed on demand. Yeah. So okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, distinguished First Secretary Olteanu. Yes, we were glad and honored to have you with us, and thank you very much. Yeah, for your resilience. Yes, to be with us right to the end. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are honored. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So very kind from the Romanian embassy. Thank you. So yes, Arina. I totally agree. I totally agree, and I think this is the future. This is the future. Our colleagues here, Christina. Toma from Bruxelles and Nicolae Stanciu can buttress this idea. Yes, to print on demand. Yeah, I think this is a luminous perspective. Yes.
And you're welcome to contact me if you have any ideas regarding children's books, stories in different language combinations. I mean, Romanian and Azerbaijani, that would be very interesting. So yes, please do so.
May I ask a question?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
My colleague, excuse me, just a little bit. My colleague from Skopje University. Yes,
Yeah.
Professor 𝗂𝗂𝒂𝒂. Yeah.
I would like to ask only something very, very limited about marketing the books, because we are doing translations here, and some weeks ago I met Mr. Professor Peter Atanasov, who published with his family a dictionary in 7 languages, like Macedonian, French, Italian, Romanian, Spanish, and English. And he was complaining about this unsuccessful campaign of promoting and selling out the books. So now we are living in a market society, so it's not only about translating, writing dictionaries in a lab, no, in a jar, but more about succeeding to sell them or to enhance the cultural prestige of languages and culture encoded in different languages. Thank you very much.
We thank you. We thank you a lot. Yes, indeed, indeed. We thank you a lot. Yes, Christina. Christina has yes, one further question.
One question, because I don't find here on my screen how to unmute it. Okay. I still have a question about that project on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, because you mentioned a little bit about this house called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 House of Stories. Have you ever found a place in Romania, or I remember Finland, speaking about my my previous experience of teaching Romanian literature, and in Finland there was a special place dedicated to Mauri Kunas, their famous writer. So have you found that place?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We started the project, an idea of the project 2009, and since there is a huge budget that needed to be founded, we think of Bucharest. We had some places that were interested, but it's a lot of money involved, so we need to apply for financing of the European Union, but we started to think that we need to make a pilot, and this pilot, I mean, only constructing a small section for people being have been visiting Junibacken in Stockholm, or actually in Malmö. The same founder of Junibacken in Stockholm founded another similar place for children's literature, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. We think that we start with doing a pilot at the National Library of Romania. So in order to present the idea and how the things can be built up and how they are going to work. So this is still a lot of work to do, and it has to do with financing, because the budget of the Junibacken in Sweden, and that was at the end of 90s, was about 6 million euros. And let's say that it would be half of the costs in Romania, but it's still a lot of money. So, but meanwhile, the Romanian children's literature scene is growing, and I think that more attention is accorded from the politicians and not only to this increasing market, because this is an important one. So parents will always want the best for their kids. So I hope so, but it's still a long way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tommy, do you remember what books I sent you when you had that Literaturlist? They contain a little bit of reality, if I'm not wrong, because you did that nice piece of criticism. So I do not remember. What do you think about this idea? Because it is quite at your level. I mean, you are now at Romanol 3, so you are, if I'm not wrong, yes, at the level somewhere at the level B2. Am I right?
It's difficult to know.
yeah. But that is, yeah, something like that. But anyway, if I'm not wrong, you graduated the last but one year of study, and now you should go to the graduating year, to the candidate. Yes, year.
I've done the first half of a candidate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, you're so many. So so you're almost there.
Yes.
Yes.
I have the degree project.
Yeah.
Left.
Precisely. So what do you think about regarding that question? Do you think that Arina's books, yes, I mean this type of bilingual books regarding especially children literature, which implies, yes, this project a lot of imagination, metaphors, stylistic devices. Do you think it could be useful to improve the level of language of Romanian?
Oh, absolutely. It sounds very interesting, that the project and the work with the bilingual books. I have never even heard of it before, so I think it's a very, very useful resource for language learning also. Absolute. In addition to sorry, Felix.
No, I want to say that yes, maybe, yes, Arina, maybe you shall stay in contact with Tommy. Yeah, Tommy is such a Tommy is prodigy in learning Romanian, believe me. Yeah, everybody was shocked. Yeah, so yeah, maybe, yes, you have him in mind as well, regarding such a collaboration. Yeah, Swedish Romanian. Yeah.
Yeah, we always need new translators, so the more the merrier, and if people come with their own projects, even better.
Yes.
It sounds very, very interesting. Absolutely. So maybe we could sometime.
Yeah. So so great. So yeah, it was gorgeous. Do we have further questions or suggestions now? I think yes, I'm not sure. Okay, so in this case, I think yes, to my point of view, it was very, very interesting and challenging and stimulating, and even myself, yes, I accumulated some very useful suggestions, yes, for my future teaching activity. So I want to thank you all very much, yes, for this nice academic and not only, yes, translational development. Yeah, I want to thank you all very much. It was first and foremost very useful for advancing Romanian studies and cultural projects in Sweden. Yeah. So I'm so happy to have had all of you here together with us. I again congratulate Arina Stoinescu for her splendid editorial activity. And I hope, we shall be able, to have a similar project, not in the very remote future, to to see what has happened in the meantime. And let's hope the pandemic will be over, and maybe we will be able to have something organized at Lund University.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Arina. I want to give you the floor, to draw the conclusions and to gather the laurels, to the end of our meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you again for inviting me, and thank you for all for your interest and for your patience. We have been sitting now for 2.5 hours, so I think that no matter how interesting a subject is, there is life going on, but I really looking forward to hear from you, and please get in touch if you have any ideas. It takes time. We are not publishing quick, and there are small printing runs, but Pioneer Press is always interested in new projects. So thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, to Malin also, and thank you a lot for your helping hand in this event. I thank you all. I thank you all very much. Have a very nice afternoon.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
La revedere.
V-am văzut pe toți. La revedere.
La revedere. Mulțumesc mult.